Hello, and welcome to Save Your Sanity. I'm Dr. Rhoberta Shaler. Tonight we're going to be talking about an important distinction. I think it's important for us to make these distinctions, to understand these distinctions, and to be able to know if you're caring, caretaking, or enabling. Because when you realize the distinctions, you can choose very carefully what it is that you want to be doing as opposed to what you might by default be doing. And when you know that, it's important to take it in. If you are a carer, that simply means that you are kind and you have concern for other people. You're caring. That's a general way of being. But if you're a caretaker, you will soon learn that that has all kinds of difficulties that it can bring about. And if you're actually enabling, that is even digging a deeper hole. So we're going to talk about those distinctions so that you can reflect and say, what am I actually doing? And am I actually telling myself the truth? Is what I am doing, am I covering it up? Do I think I'm being a nice person, a good person, and I've got it confused with what actually is happening? And not that you're not a nice person or a good person, but that you have it confused because you don't want to be the person who says, I have found myself in a caretaking or enabling role. And so you want to be much more feeling good about it to say, oh, no, I'm not doing that. So we want to be clear. And I know that sounds like I've said a lot of that a few times, but this kind of clarity does not come easily because of the way that we've been acculturated over time. So we're going to talk through those things. And in the meantime, if this is your first time with me, I'm so glad that you found me. And if you have returned because you found value, I'm really happy about that too. If at any time you'd like to support the program, you can go to patreon.com/saveyoursanity. Patreon.com/saveyoursanity. And you can always find me, as you know, at For Relationship Help. So let's talk about these few things because we want to be caring humans. I hope we want to be caring humans. We want to genuinely care about other people, genuinely care about ourselves, and we want to be kind. So caring, great. It's a good thing. We want to do more of it. We want to make sure that it is a focus for us, that we're caring. That makes sense. People who don't have any empathy, people who are out to use and abuse people, they're not caring. And you can't make them care. That's a big thing to understand, that you might want to think you can make them care, but you cannot make them care because they've already learned things in their earlier life that make it so that they are not going to do anything except take caring, but they are not going to give it. Every now and again, of course, they'll do something very transactional. They'll appear to be caring because they want you to come on board or do something or not go away from them. So they'll appear to be caring, but it is not their basic nature. So then we come to the important distinction of caretaking. Caregiving is when somebody's in a difficult spot and we take care of them until they get better. It's just automatic give and take, and it's all a good thing. But caretaking has a little more sinister side to look at. We want to see that there's that distinction. When you're caregiving, somebody's not well or they need some help or whatever they need, but it's temporary, and and expect and believe that it will be reciprocal. That's what we call friends. You can call on a friend because then they can call on you. And it's not a give to get situation. It's simply what we do for each other because we value each other and we are kind and considerate humans. But caretaking gets into a different spot. It's more than just taking care of someone. It can go terribly sideways. Now, you may think these are distinctions without a difference, but hold on a minute and let me just continue to explain this to you, because it does go a little sideways and can go a lot sideways. So in caretaking, there's a certain dependence that's inferred, and it will be for a short or a long period of time. But caretaking is something that hijackals want to hook you into, that you will start taking care of them. And for them, it can be a way of hooking you in. For you, it may even be a covert form of control, or for them, because if they can hook you into caretaking, they have some control over you. And if you find them infirm, you can have some control over them. Now, this gets really tricky in certain places, but many times we'll do caretaking in order to avoid rejection or to protect ourselves from rejection. So we will take care of someone else so they'll like us, so they'll approve of us, so they'll validate us, so they'll want us around. And then you'll find yourself in that horrible situation where you're actually giving all the time and you become over giving, but seeing yourself as caretaking. And it's a focus on the other person so you don't think about yourself. And you can get very involved in that, particularly if you've had certain kinds of attachment style when you were younger. So you get into a place where you're happily focused on someone else, so you don't have to think about the pickle you're in, or the pain that you have, or your own worries and concerns. And we'll get a caretaking role. Many times hijackals play on that in a big way. They will pretend that they're more ill than they are. They'll say they have a diagnosis they don't have. They will tell you that they're constantly exhausted and they need a break, and they look to you to always be the one who gives them a break, but it never works in the opposite direction. So caretaking is sacrificing your own, can be sacrificing your own needs and your wants to take care of someone else who's quite capable of taking care of themselves. But we think, oh, let me do that for you, then they will like us better. Now, sure, every now and again, we love to have somebody do something for us, especially if it's spontaneous and it comes from a place of love. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about people hooking other people into taking care of them. In the hijackal spectrum, if you like, I have had clients who have actually had a hijackal spouse who tells the client that they need to take care of them. They need to be able to stay home from work and have their partner take care of them. They don't have a need to earn money because it's your job. And if you had a better job, you would caretake me better, and you should want to do that. Many times you see some iteration on Facebook of, no one falls in love faster than a narcissist with no house or no job. Well, they want you to caretake them. They want you to be the one who sacrifices on their behalf while they're quite capable of doing it for themselves. And it's an important distinction, because when you are caretaking in a caretaking relationship, you are operating from fear, not from love. Fear that the other person will go away if you don't caretake them. Fear that the other person who continuously threatens to leave or to commit suicide, perhaps, that you have the power to stop them, and they want you to do more for them so that they can make the threats that they never intend to carry out in most cases, and you will be beholden in that role, and you will do it for longer, maybe do it for forever. So caretaking involves a lot of underlying nastiness in many cases. Caregiving, remember, is a different thing. You want to give. You are giving out of the goodness of your heart from that caring place. You understand it's temporary. And yes, there are professional caregivers. They do it for money. Other people do it from the goodness of their heart for a while. But if there's a hijackal involved in this situation, one of those people who hijacks relationships for their own needs and purposes, and then scavenges the relationship for power, status, and control, they want to hook you into the caretaking role. You should. You should give me money. You should have a better job so that we can have a better life. You should give me all of your time. You shouldn't want anything from me. The relationship will always be unbalanced. And of course, as I've said so many times before, hijackals are the masters of the plausible lie. There will be just enough truth in what they say sometimes to have you go, well, that could be the case. It could be true. And if I don't believe it's true and I don't act on it, believe it's true, I might have a regret. And so they hook you in that way. Caretakers have low empathy for themselves. Are they the perfect people for hijackals to glom onto, to take care of them? Because the hijackal has no empathy for other people, and caretakers have low empathy for themselves. Oh, I can keep going. A good person would keep going. If I had it together, I would have lots to give. So it's important to see where these differences lie, because in the hijackal relationship, which is what I talk about mostly, they're just looking for a way to get you. You know, in my book, Escaping the Hijackal Trap, you will see a whole chapter called The Gotcha Factor. You know, they're all sweetness and light, love and things in the beginning. You think, oh, how did I get so lucky? This person listens to me. This person remembers what I say. This person is in such a rush and in so much love. They want to marry me, live with me, have a baby, mingle our finances. Oh, it's so wonderful. But you don't realize that that wonderful is a come on. It's not what you're going to get all the time later. It is something that they're in a big hurry to do the gotcha factor, so they don't have to pretend to be listening all the time or remembering or taking you to the places that you'd like to go or impressing you in any way. That will be withdrawn either quickly or over a long period of time. People ask all the time, okay, when does the hijackal show their stripes? Well, depends on the hijackal. I had one sad situation where everything was sweetness and light up until the wedding. After the wedding, they left the reception in grand style. The man dropped the wife off at the hotel and wasn't seen again for 5 days. It was immediate. Other people had a good 2 or 3 years, and then it started to seem to denigrate. That at least that's when they noticed it. Then when we talk and we go back through it all, when they become my client, then they say, oh, you know, I made rationalizations and justifications for their behavior for probably a year before I really believed that that's who they really were. And that's very important to see. And so if you ever want to be my client, you can simply go to beaclient.com. I have a one-time, 1-hour new client offer there for $97 at beaclient.com. So when I'm talking to the people and their experience, they're good-hearted. You know, they want to believe that the other person just made a little mistake, didn't mean to be nasty, didn't didn't mean to forget to do the thing that they said they would do, didn't mean those nasty words that came out of their mouth. Healthier people make exceptions. They make compromises. They recognize people make mistakes. So they give them much more time, much more benefit of the doubt for much longer than is actually turns out to be healthy. So it's important for us to see these distinctions, because if there's a caretaking role going on, like I had a client recently who said that every time he thought of leaving her, she would get some kind of ailment, or she would want to quit her job and start a new one. There was always a reason that she needed to have a caretaker again. The pattern did not appear to him for quite a while, because he thought that he was doing a wonderful thing. And he was. If he were with a healthier person, they would have appreciated it. It wouldn't have been a pattern at all. It would have become those three things that are the hallmarks of a healthy adult relationship. There would have been equality, reciprocity, and mutuality. And therefore, these things would flow beautifully in both directions and it would be fine. So that's what you're expecting when you're in a healthier person in a relationship. And it takes you a while to get with the program to say, this never happens. It never comes my way. It never comes to be my turn. And then you start to see that you begin to resent, this is not good. So that in itself is an unhealthy relationship. But then there is the thing that is going to make things much worse over time, and that is to be enabling. And enabling, my definition of enabling, is when you usually or frequently step in to fix, solve, justify, rationalize, or make the consequences go away for the poor choices of another human. Especially that last bit. Enabling is when you make the consequences go away for the poor choices of another. So you start thinking there's going to be equality, reciprocity, and mutuality, and then you find that there isn't. And you start noticing that things are particularly one-sided. And that's very, very difficult, because then you beat yourself up. Oh, how could I say that? Am I being selfish? Am I being the difficult one? So you argue with yourself for a while, and yet the pattern still is one-sided. And you give them the benefit of the doubt, and you lean in and you do things for them, and you think that you will be rewarded at some point, that it will come back to equality, reciprocity, and mutuality. No, it's never going to happen when you have a hijackal. It's not going to go there, because you definitely cannot be equal with them. They will not allow it. They'll give you the sense occasionally in the beginning of the relationship that it'll be equal, but they're not going to allow it over time. So as you start feeling it's getting one-sided, healthier people say, oh, well, I'll just explain that and say, I need something, I want something, I'm it would be really great if my needs were considered, or that we could do something I'd like to do. And then you begin to see the hijacker like, what? You have needs? You have wants? You have preferences? Well, maybe later, but right now, today, I need this to happen. And then we get trapped in again in the future faking that one day it'll be different than this. And we buy it because we want to be fair. We believe relationships involve compromise. But remember the idea of a hijackal. A hijackal says that they will willing to compromise. But when they say that, they believe they're standing in the middle already. They're not going to move at all. So I know it's sad to think that people are wired this way, but they are. And when we start to realize the patterns, and we find that we can't make any headway with changing the patterns, no matter what we say, no matter how kindly we say it, then we have to follow some strategies for dealing with hijackals. And that's what I talk about a lot, as you know, because you may have been following the podcast, or you may be a member of my Emerging Empowered community. And if you'd like to be and you're not, you can go to joinintoday.com. joinintoday.com, safely off social media, on my website, where you can talk to others who are going through what you are going through, whatever stage you're in. There are different groups for different stages, and then you can get support. Along with that, you can also get 2 group Ask Me Anything calls with me a month, and all kinds of wonderful things. So you start to feel it's one-sided, and you say, oh, maybe I'll just work a little harder. Maybe I'll try to engage them. I should not be selfish. So you reinvest. You think, okay, I'll just put a little more in. Then you get a little more tired. But you believe if you do it, it will come right again. Now, you know that urban myth about how to boil a frog? You put the frog in cold water, and you very slowly turn up the heat until the frog is uncomfortable, but they think you don't mean it. And then they begin to be hurt, and they give you the benefit of the doubt. And then all of a sudden you're boiled and it's over. You are in a pattern where you are constantly hurt. You're constantly uncomfortable. And it's very similar to life with a hijackal. You don't want to believe it, but at some point it's necessary to see it. And if you go to my website for relationship help and click on the free checklists, you can start there by taking the checklist that says, am I in a toxic relationship? That can help you. It's free. Just go there. But this resentment is building, and you want to believe the water's not getting hotter, but it is getting hotter. And this pattern makes the balance more for them, less for you, more for them, less for you. And it keeps shifting. So you're getting less and less, they're getting more and more, and the resentment builds up again. And you give up, you give in, and you just get exhausted. You maybe wear yourself out so much from being put down, torn down, and worn down that you just give up and give in all the time. Why bother? It's not going to have a different result. When you ever get to that place, please come and use the new client one-time opportunity to talk with me, because you're too exhausted to think that through. And I'm certainly here to help you at beaclient.com. But you can get so worn down that you don't think that you can get out of the pot before you get boiled. But you can. And I'd love to talk that through with you. But, you're cheating yourself when you enable, because there's no balance in it. And when there's no balance in it, it can't go anywhere good. It just simply can't. So you start recognizing that the more and more you give in a hijackal relationship, the less and less you get. And then they demand that you give them what you have been giving them and question you as to why you don't give them more. So you can see why it was important for me to bring this conversation to this episode. We can think we're being really good people. We're definitely being the healthier person in the relationship with the giving nature that we have, or the kindness, the caring for others. And we go the extra mile. But when we're in a hijackal relationship, or with the hijackal, they are counting on the fact that they can get you to do anything. They can manipulate you. They can wear you out, tear you up, spit you out, completely emotionally exhaust you to the point where you're just compliant. And that's very, very unhealthy. That is never going to be a relationship that you will thrive in. And if you've had relationships, or you've had parenting situations where even as a young child, you were taught that you didn't matter, so you keep trying to please so that you can get some approval, you can get some validation, the hijackal is counting on you going to do that. They're absolutely thinking, isn't this clever? Look what I can get this person to do. And if you enable them, if you jump in to fix and solve and justify and rationalize, or make the consequences go away for their poor choices, you are setting that in stone. You are enabling them. I personally don't believe it's loving to let another person be unloving to me. I'd love you to think about that. Because if you allow people to be unloving to you, you're actually being unloving to them, because you are not teaching them about boundaries. You're not teaching them that there needs to be some balance in the equation. And that's not good. A hijackal is on high alert to find out, how much can I get from you? And how easily can I get it? Does it mean that I throw you a little handful of breadcrumbs and you think, oh, thank you for the meal? They'll do that. Small investment. If they think making you feel guilty will work, they will do that. If they think making you filled with obligation and fear, they will do that. You know, in Susan Forward's book, Emotional Blackmail, she calls it FOG, an acronym for fear, obligation, and guilt. People who are emotional abusers will use the fog all the time. You should. A good person does. If you had any brains, you would. They're always keeping you in the fog. When you start to see these things, and I've got over 500 episodes for you to look at between Save Your Sanity and Emotional Savvy podcasts, so there's lots to support you there. But please look at this distinction between being a caring, kind person with concern for others, a caretaking role where you are actually taking over the responsibilities for somebody else, and then you become manipulated in that, or the enabling role where you just think, I'll give myself away and they will be so grateful at some point that there will be something coming back to me. No, that's not going to happen. They're going to take, and you're going to fall on your face. And they're going to say, next, who wants to take the place of the person who's fallen on their face? I know that's pretty straightforward, but that's what happens. And we need to wake up and smell the herbal tea. We really need to do it today, because if you discern some of these patterns I've been talking about, and you thought that by being the better person, going the extra mile, giving till it hurts, if that's a phrase I'd like to have taken out of the English language, but if you have been thinking that, and when you reflect on what I've said today, you realize that nothing is coming back. Yeah, a little sprinkling here and there when they really want something or they're afraid you'll go away. But nothing is coming back of value. Nothing is coming back that's sustainable. Nothing that is coming back that fills you up. It is just enough to have you giving to them again. So these are important pieces of the puzzle. And as I've said, reflect on them. Is it possible that your mind, as you listen to this episode, went into a place of, oh, well, that's not fair. You're just supposed to do for others. Do for others. No, that won't work. That's an imbalance. There's no balance of compassion for others and compassion for yourself. And always remember that self-care is not selfish. Self-care demonstrates that you want to be in the top shape to live your life fully. So never mistake self-care with being selfish. A hijackal will want you to do that. They'll tell you that you're selfish because you want a day off, or you want to go for the beach, or you don't feel like doing the dishes tonight, or whatever it is. But I hope listening to this episode, it has caused you to think about some of the things that you're telling yourself about how you are going the extra mile and being a good person. And now you realize that you're going the extra mile because they're taking you for a ride. So until we speak again, take very good care of yourself, because you're precious and you matter. And come on over and visit me at forrelationshiphelp.com. Talk soon. Hello. How are you this evening, everybody? Good to see you here. Oh, lots of comments too. Let's see what's up. So, Meditech says, dang, I'm struggling today. I'm about to set myself up for another smackdown. Well, we're here to help. If we can lift you up in some way, I hope you'll tell us a little more about what's going on, and we can stop you from setting yourself up for another smackdown and support you to do that. Because when you're with a hijackal, you can get really sucked into that. You can be manipulated into it. You can be controlled into it. So if we can help, let us know. Hello, Charla. I haven't seen you post before. He's been home way too much. Glad he goes back to work tomorrow. Sure wish I could go back to work. I hate this. Do you know, I think you're in very, very, very good company world over, especially if you have a hijackal in your life that you have to stay home for, with this pandemic or whatever has fallen out during the pandemic. Because when you have to live with them and see them up close and personal all day long, it is so difficult. So, look at the bright side. You'll get the house to yourself tomorrow. So, yay, and high five and enjoy every moment of it. Michelle, blessings. Well, blessings back to you. Hello, Linda. You are welcome. Curious one. Oh, I love the cat eye glasses. I'm glad you caught me live too. Thanks about the glasses. It was time for new ones. Linda said they do lie as well. Oh, yes, they lie like a carpet. Pretty wall-to-wall installation. They love to do that. Anything to get what they want. Anything at all. Now, I've said before too, and I'll just put a caveat in here. Some people behave like hijackals because they don't know any other way. But they do, in fact, feel badly when they behave that way, but they haven't learned a new way. They haven't done any work to find out, where did I pick up these bad habits and what could I do that would be better? So when I say that, hijackals behave this way, they do, but some of them are just mimicking behaviors they learned in their homes when they were young, and they actually don't know. And I think it would be about 4 or 5% of the people. So I just want to put that little caveat in there. Now, please don't run off and say, oh, the one I'm with must be in the 5%. But just know that some people only engage in those behaviors when they infrequently get too stressed. So not everyone is the same in the hijackal world. Curious One said, I appreciate you tackling this topic, which is very pertinent in multi-generational families. Yes, it certainly is. And the distinctions become particularly important when you are in a multi-generational family situation. So I hope that the information will make a difference to your thinking. Hello, Cher Bear. I'm glad you're here. It's all right that you're late. I wouldn't have known unless you said something. Hello, Isabel. I made exceptions for the hijackal friend's behavior. Oh, nobody's perfect, I thought, till I had enough and educated myself about hijackals. Good for you. We learn all these things about how to be nice, how to be empathetic, how to go the extra mile. We know how to do those things, but hijackals want to tip you way over and take advantage of your good nature and your willingness to be kind and caring and have concern for others, or to be generous or whatever. And we have to be able to see those distinctions clearly. Isabel said, yes, and the emotional abuse became more frequent and stronger. I knew it was toxic. Yep, it truly happens. No contact with one for 1 year with one and 7 months with the other. Done. Well, going no contact is something that many people just don't have the gumption to do it, or it doesn't feel fair, it doesn't feel right. But that's where the imbalance of compassion for self versus compassion for others has to be brought into question, because you will be depleting yourself, and they'll be getting and getting and getting. So you'll be getting thinner and they'll be getting fatter in an emotional sense, and then they'll tell you that you don't feed them enough, right? So Isabel asks, I know this is a common question. Do you believe they're aware of what they're doing? Maybe some are and some aren't. Well, ask yourself this question, Isabel. When they go to work, do they behave the way they behave with you? And I can just about hear everybody in the room, so no, of course not. So do you think then that they're choosing their behaviors? Yes, they are. They would never say what they say to you to what they say to employees or an employer. They just wouldn't. They wouldn't say it at church. They wouldn't say it at Rotary. They wouldn't say it in front of your friends and family, perhaps. But they'll say it to you. So yes, they choose what they say. They choose what they do. It's clear that they do. So some, like the little 4 or 5% that I spoke of, they just simply don't know that what they're doing is damaging. And when they really feel badly, I had no idea that that's the way you felt. But they're rare. Hijackals generally know exactly what they're doing. Some set out to hurt you. Some just do it because that's who they are. Some are in that category of, I know what I'm doing. I know where to do it. I know how to get what I want. Aren't I clever? All those pieces are there. Yes, hijackals love to use guilt. They certainly do, Isabel. Lucretia, hello. Haven't seen you for a bit. I had a friend enable and defend a narcissistic friend after she bullied and emotionally abused me and called me names. Most painful thing ever. Yeah, I'm sure, because you were disappointed in two people. And when there's enabling involved, the person who's doing the enabling is doing it with the hopes of being validated or approved of or loved or liked. And they think if they subject themselves to the other person, if they let the other person behave badly, make excuses for that person, then the hijacker will like them. But you can see the faulty thinking in that. And so it's very disappointing when you find out that you're around dysfunctional, disordered, and dysregulated people. But I've said it before, I was raised by two hijackal parents. I'm an only child. And it wasn't until I really got deeply into the work when I was working on my PhD that I realized that, I think many of my friends have some of the characteristics of my parents. This all has to change. When you have that realization, it's just comfortably uncomfortable. The relationships, dysfunctional as they are, have become familiar, and you don't expect anything better. So it's quite a journey to realize what's happened to you, and to say, I deserve to have a life that is living in relationships that have equality, reciprocity, and mutuality. Nothing less. And we'll never have a relationship like that with a hijackal. Isabel says, do you think they are genuine about anything? Yeah, they genuinely want their own way. They genuinely want you to take care of them. They genuinely want you to be under their control. That's what they're genuine about. But in the beginning, they don't show you those things, so they're disingenuous. But yes, they're genuine about being manipulative. And they will never tell you that, but you will soon see that. All right, let's see what we have here. People are talking to one another. Isabel says, I feel like I'm leveling up, healing childhood wounds from my hijackal parent and my brother. High five to you. That's wonderful. We do have to do that. Yeah, and you're right. The betrayal, once you find out, is shocking. It really is. And when you kind of come out of the hijackal soup and you start realizing that this person doesn't treat me quite well either, and that one over there is, I'm always trying to get them to approve of me, just like I did with this other person. Yeah, that's a poor dynamic too. As you start to realize those pieces in that way, then so much has to change. It can be a real time of loneliness. I understand that, because you find that the majority of the people in your life are not really on your side. They're not really your friends. They're using you in some capacity. Hijackals use you. They don't have much love to give, but they have lots of uses for you. And they expect you to allow them to use them and then thank them for the opportunity to be used. It's a very sad thing. Isabel says, I feel more alone, but proud of myself for the strength to move on. Great. Keep focusing on moving forward. There's a reason that we have a really large windshield and a very small rearview mirror. You only look in the rearview mirror to avoid doing something again the way you did back there, but be in the present moment and looking forward. Because as you accrue some more insight, some information, maybe you do some work to make changes, then life will begin to get better and better. But you have to go through a bit of stuff in order for it to change. It's like if you want to weigh 50 pounds less and you want to be fit, you may not love going to the gym for the first while, but you want the results. So that's an important thing. Curious One said, the grief of the betrayal is really heavy. It is. Yes, it really, really is. So I'm seeing no further comments. So for those of you who haven't been here before, it takes about 20 seconds for me to see the comments after you hit send. So I'll wait 30 seconds. And if there are no more comments, I'll think that you've got things to think about and you're ready to go off and think about them. Know that you can ask me questions during this time, as people have. And that's an important thing, to be able to do that. Yes, Isabel, it is all for growth and it is a blessing, but sometimes it doesn't feel so good. It feels more like a whack up the side of the head. I know. You're so welcome, those people who are saying that they are grateful for the evening. And I'm grateful that you came along. I hope you brought a friend or two. If you thought that it could be helpful for them, feel free to do that. Feel free to share episodes on your social media pages, ones that you found helpful. Invite people along, tell them about Monday nights. And I will be here next Monday with bells on and a new topic for you. And you know what I'm going to say. In the meantime, take very good care of yourself, because you're precious and you matter. Talk soon.